Chapter 93, Husbands, if you see it, your city will be flooded. In the bedroom, Wang Zichen told his roommates the news. The roommate's reaction was exactly the same as his. With a big mouth, can swallow an egg. Our country is too low-key. Really, it's all developed quietly. Even our own people don't know about it. A few roommates smiled bitterly and couldn't help but complain. Judging from the speed of killing monsters, obviously the two weapons that control the country have been unprecedentedly improved and strengthened. Whether at home or abroad, there is no news at all. Forget it, don't think so much. It's a great day today. Why don't we go out for a big meal to celebrate? A roommate suddenly suggested. There is a restaurant near our school. It's a small restaurant. I heard that there are delicacies cooked with the ingredients of the 001 Immortal, smuggled from abroad. It's really delicious. The supply is limited every day. If you go there late, it will be gone. The words just finished, several people became interested instantly and got up to go out. It seems to be raining heavily outside. Wang Zichen pointed out the window and poured cold water on several people. A few roommates just noticed. Unknowingly, it was already pouring rain outside. At the same time, globally, China's announcement was quickly learned by officials from various countries. They originally planned to learn China's response methods. They were all unusually silent. This time, No1 questions the authenticity of Huaxia's announcement. I just felt a deep sense of powerlessness. They wouldn't be able to copy China's method. In desperation, all countries had no choice but to turn their attention to another big country again. After all, in the last trial, the United States also achieved an SS-level evaluation, second only to China and the Body Kingdom, the United States, Department of Defense. China's Book of Life and Death is becoming more and more terrifying. When Jobs listened to his subordinates' reports, the fear on his face became more intense. The fourth round of trials started less than an hour ago. Huaxia activated the mysterious weapon in a tyrannical manner and killed all the monsters in the territory. Without a doubt, in this round of trials, China once again excelled, leading the rest of the world. Minister, someone in Florida reported that a man-eating monster was discovered, which is suspected to be a new monster coming this cycle. At this time, the intelligence department of the FBI quickly reported received a message. Jobs looked excited. Think for a moment. Immediately ordered, notify the local military to establish a blockade to prevent this monster from escaping. In addition, inform the Chosen Legion to send a small team to capture this monster. Monster, remember, I want to live. After copying China's previous rounds of measures, the United States has now established a complete reporting mechanism. As long as someone finds traces of the monster, you can get a reporting reward of 100,000 meters, and the monsters in this round seem to be a little different from the monsters that developed in the early stages of the first three rounds, he remembered. The monsters in the first three rounds must develop for at least a week before they dare to reveal their whereabouts. Is it possible? The monsters that descended this time are so powerful that they don't need to be cumbersomely developed. Why did it suddenly rain so heavily? After deploying the operation, Jobs suddenly looked out the window. I don't know when it was pouring rain. Suddenly, huge raindrops were beating on the window glass crazily. A storm is coming. Half a day later, Department of Defense. In the rainstorm. A monster that was 3 meters tall, shaped like a white deer, and had 4 giant horns was escorted in front of Jobs by Steve and others. Is this the monster that came this round? Jobs stared at the dying giant monster at his feet and frowned. Steve is indeed very strong, but he thought it would take a day at the earliest to catch this new monster. I didn't expect that just half a day the monster was caught and brought over. It should be, but his combat power is a bit weak. Steve nodded, also a little surprised. When we arrested him, he only knew how to run and never fight back. I have no strength at all. Roar, the monster on the ground struggled and roared when he heard Jobs and others talking about him. Be honest. Steve snorted coldly, and the terrifying electromagnetic power blessed the monster. It collapsed to the ground instantly, unable to move. His appearance is very different from the monsters in the first 3 rounds. Jobs was a little surprised, and he keenly noticed that this monster was unusual. The first 3 rounds, whether it is the 001 Immortal, the 002 Impersonator, or the 003 Loud One. Their looks, they all have human faces and animal bodies, but the monster in front of him has no so-called human face, and its appearance is completely animal body. The only special one. That is, he is as big as an elephant and looks like a white deer, plus he has 4 huge horns. Think of this. He quickly took out the Classic of Mountains and Seas and started reading it quickly. After repeated comparisons, finally locked the identity of the monster at his feet. The Classic of Mountains and Seas Zhongxi Sanjing. It was recorded, there is a beast on the mountain of Aoan. It looks like a white deer with 4 horns. It is called Fu Zhu. When it is seen, there will be great floods in its town. Husband. Job's eyes sparkled and he said in a deep voice, yes, the monster coming this time is Fu Zhu. In this record, in addition to describing the appearance of this monster in detail, its abilities are also pointed out everywhere you go. County floods. Job's pupils trembled slightly, and he suddenly woke up staring at the white deer at his feet. He said in disbelief, is this heavy rain caused by monsters? Compared with the monsters in the first 3 rounds, the monsters in this round are obviously more magical, possessing strange powers and seeming to be able to control the weather. Check where it is raining in the country now. He turned around and quickly gave instructions to his assistant. Soon, the meteorological department reported the recent weather conditions in the 50 states in the United States. There are more than 2,000 cities in its territory. At this moment, it's all pouring rain. His Jobs took a breath of air. Combined with the number of monsters that came this round, he vaguely understood. The monsters coming this time are hidden in more than 2,000 cities, and there is one in each city. His eyes flashed, and he gritted his teeth and said, they are using their abilities to quietly change the weather, in an attempt to launch a flood, submerge our country, and destroy our civilization. Hearing this, the expressions of Steve and others on the side changed drastically. Staring at the monster at his feet, he became more and more afraid of it. Stronger than Steve, I also felt my scalp was numb and the hairs on my back were standing on end. Although his combat power is astonishing and he can be called level 3 invincible, he is still human after all. If a flood comes, the United States was flooded, and he could not survive alone. Steve. Jobs took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, from now on, you will lead the chosen army to quickly go to more than 2,000 cities, look for traces of husbands, and kill everyone you find. We can't let the heavy rain continue any longer. Now the trial has just begun. Fortunately, with China's Book of Mountains and Seas as a guide, they discovered the monster's identity and abilities in advance. Everything. There's still time to stop it. Chapter 94. Shocking news, the heavy rainfall cannot be stopped. China Monster Research Institute. Lab. The corpse of a monster that looked like a white deer had been cut into pieces, disassembled into dozens of parts. Dozens of researchers are conducting comprehensive research and experiments on the monster's corpse. Everyone, he looked a little excited. Even Shi Jian, who usually liked to study the most, was given a few days off and put back in the prison cell. Everyone, they devoted themselves wholeheartedly to the 4th round of monster research. In front of an experimental bench. Liu Fuyuan, a top professor in the field of particle research, looked at the 4 giant horns that had just been disassembled, looked surprised, thinking, the dean asked me to focus on studying these 4 giant horns of Fu Zhu. What is so magical about them? When the monster corpse was transported to the laboratory, the dean came once, just one glance, then he recognized the identity of the monster. Then, after explaining many matters, he left in a hurry. Among them, extra care, and let him focus on studying these 4 giant horns. Let's conduct basic energy flow, particle flow, and electrification tests first. After Liu Fuyuan pondered for a moment, he ordered the 2 researchers behind him. He buried his head in research. Yanjing, cabinet meeting room. Several old men looked happy and were discussing matters. The Book of Life and Death, developed under the leadership of Dean Yang, is truly a weapon for the country. The old man in the military chuckled, grinning from ear to ear, between words full of praise for Book of Life and Death, that in this round of trials, Huaxia's soldiers once again wiped out all the monsters in the territory without losing a single blow, saving the casualties of military officers. If facts proved, the science fiction heavenly plan proposed by Yang Mo was extremely far-sighted. It is simply that the benefit lies in the present and the merit will be in the future. The future. As China's technological level improves, the Book of Life and Death will also be continuously updated and iterated until shock the heavens and become the supreme artifact that shocks the past and the present. Yeah, I think it's time to ask for credit from Dean Yang. The old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology pondered for a moment and then suggested, previously, the monster crisis was coming fiercely, and Dean Yang has been busy. It's rare to have time now. Everyone looked at each other, they all nodded. Indeed, now the 4th round of trials has just started, but all the monsters have been wiped out. Chinese crisis is lifted, Book of Life and Death, and Demon Mirror have both come out. Yaoqi Biotechnology R&D Center is also on the right track and is starting the work of decrypting the gene lock. It's time to reward the meritorious officials. Tuck. At this time, a guard came in and reported to everyone, Chief, Dean Yang from the Institute is here. The old man in charge looked at him, hurry and say, please soon. Under the leadership of the security guard, Yang Mo walked into the conference room. Wang Yu stood up first and said with a smile, "Dean Yang, you came just in time. We are planning to show your merit." The old man in the military nodded. The expression was full of appreciation and affirmation. Dean Yang deserves the most credit for China's current achievements. I don't know, however, Yang Mo's next words made everyone's smiles freeze. The current situation in China is very urgent. The words just fell. Every old man, including Wang Yu, looked at Yang Mo in surprise. A puzzle was written on his face. Today, the situation in China is excellent. As soon as the fourth round of monsters arrived, they were completely wiped out by China. Why suddenly? Is it an emergency again? This is the information about the monsters coming this round. Yang Mo took a deep breath, took out a document and handed it to everyone, said in a deep voice, "The epicycle monster is named Fu Zhu and the Shanhai Jing. It belongs to a type of spiritual race. Its ability is to cause large-scale precipitation wherever it goes." Next, he also took out a weather map of various provinces and cities across the country. The above clearly shows that it is raining heavily all over the 9.6 million square kilometers of China. 24-hour rainfall exceeded 250 mm. A heavy rainstorm level has been reached. What? The leader of the old man was suddenly startled and quickly flipped through the documents submitted by Yang Mo. The expressions of the other old men also changed slightly. They all came forward looking at the national weather map. A chill came to my heart, but we have wiped out all the monsters. Logically speaking, this heavy rain will stop soon, right? The old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology was the first to recover from the shock and analyzed and deduced. Everyone heard this, focused on Yang Mo again. At the same time, as the fourth round of trials proceeds at countries around the world, they are all trying their best and using all means to search for the unknown monsters that have descended on the country. Just when various countries thought that this time the monster was going to grow obscenely again. A fourth round monster research report released by the U.S. Department of Defense shocked the world. In the report, the United States stated that it has locked the true identity of the monster in this round, and it is the Fu Zhu recorded in the classic of mountains and seas. Its combat power is limited, far inferior to 001 Immortal and 003 Loudspeaker, only comparable to 002 Impersonator. But wherever this monster passes, there will be heavy rainfall. The United States recommends that all countries in the world take the lead in investigating areas with heavy rainfall in the country. There must be husks in places with abnormal climate. As soon as the news came out, global shock. High-level officials from various countries did not dare to neglect and quickly contacted the meteorological department to check the weather conditions in the country. The result, without exception, it is raining heavily in all countries. The top leaders of various countries were horrified. I quickly reacted and realized the horror of the fourth round of trials. Obviously, in this round of trials, the real threat to human civilization is not those monsters. It's the heavy rainfall they cause. As long as the heavy rain doesn't stop, it won't be long. Natural disasters such as flash floods and mudslides will occur in various countries. Even the whole world will become a vast ocean. We must find the husbands in each city as soon as possible, eliminate them at all costs, and stop the rain across the country. After realizing this, countries quickly made decisions. The state machinery was activated. The military and extraordinary people came out in full force and rushed to cities across the country to find those hidden husbands. Yanjing, Cabinet Room. Heavy rainfall has already formed. Even if all the husbands are killed, the rainfall cannot be stopped immediately. Yang Mo looked directly into everyone's eyes and said something shocking again. This is why he rushed to the cabinet as soon as he discovered Fu Zhu's identity. Husband Zhu. One of the Eldar clan have unique abilities. The weather can be modified to create a heavy rainfall climate centered on it. Once this kind of weather forms, even if they are killed, the rain will continue for a month, equal to the cycle of a civilization trial. It's just one thing he didn't think about was that in his previous life, Rifuzu clearly only appeared in the 7th round, but in this life, their clan actually arrived in the 4th round. He always felt that someone was paying attention to the Earth's civilization trial and secretly modified the difficulty of the trial. Chapter 95 Weather Type Space-Based Weapons, Thunder God and Lightning Girl. Quietly, the difficulty of the 4th round has been raised to the standard of the 7th round of normal trials. The rain will not stop? The old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology shrank his pupils and subconsciously looked out the window of the conference room. It rained heavily, falling from the sky. It has been going on for several hours and shows no sign of stopping, and they in China obviously wiped out all the husbands as soon as they came. This is the latest data from the Meteorological Bureau. A map of the country's weather forecast for the coming week. Yang Emo nodded and took out another piece of information from the documents he carried with him. See this. A few old men came forward again and saw that all the provinces in the country on the map were red. Heavy rain disaster, covering all provinces, even desert areas are experiencing heavy rain. Hiss. The pupils of the leader's old man shrank, and his face became extremely ugly. Obviously, Yang Mo's words are not based on speculation, nor are they scaremongering. If the heavy rain continues, the disaster brought to China will be devastating. To know, extremely heavy rains that last for only one day can cause various natural disasters such as flash floods, landslides, and mudslides. Last for 7 days. It will also cause reservoirs to burst, rivers to overflow, seawater to rise, and submerge the ground level. Dean Yang, do you have a way to break the situation? Wang Yu took a deep breath and looked at Yang Mo with expression, with a hint of hope. The other old men also focused their attention on Yang Mo again. They all know it, this disaster is different from the past, but it is more terrifying than the death threat posed by the monster. Yes. Yang Mo met everyone's gaze and nodded solemnly. There is a link in the science fiction heavenly plan I proposed before that can solve China's crisis. Hear the words. The old men from various departments looked at each other. They all thought of that grand and huge plan, and their hearts beat faster. Whether it is Book of Life and Death, it's still Demon Mirror, or the Yaoqi Biotechnology R&D Center that is currently being launched is all born out of that incredible dream plan. Yang Mo stepped forward. Didn't sell it, he revealed the plan. Weather-based, space-based weapons, thunder, and lightning. The words just finished, the old men in various departments were shocked. With glints in their eyes, Wang Yu looked the most excited and couldn't help but murmured, in myths and legends, those two gods in heaven? Not bad. Yang Mo held his head high and said solemnly, in the heaven, although the god of thunder and the mother of lightning are minor gods, their duties happen to be to move clouds and rain, and control the weather in the world, so they can perfectly cope with it. This disaster. In science fiction heavenly plan, Thunder God and Lightning Mother, this meteorological space-based weapon was specially conceived for the 7th round of Fu Zhu in the past life. Fu Zhu, who came in the 7th round, brought heavy rain that lasted for a month. Countries are helpless, countless people died in this heavy rain. The world's population has dropped by 1/5 out of thin air. The same is true for China. After learning from the pain, Chinese scientific researchers studied day and night, and then came up with the concept of Thunder God and Lightning Mother. It possesses unparalleled power and is responsible for good weather and good weather. It can artificially control all celestial phenomena within the territory and reverse the abnormal weather caused by Fu Zhu. Just enter the corresponding instructions in the background. It can select a range and freely adjust any climate within that range. In the conference room, everyone couldn't help but be fascinated while listening to Yang Mo's story. Mortal body, control the power of the gods, what a shock. Then how can we develop it? The old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology was not as optimistic as others and asked in a deep voice, such a transcendent weapon. Obviously, it is not so easy to develop. To develop Thunder God and Lightning Mother, 3 prerequisite technologies are needed. Yang Mo took a deep breath and said solemnly, first, sufficient energy and power support. At this point, our country has been satisfied. Last month, Hua Xia is frantically digesting the controllable nuclear fusion technology he brought from Jisho Academy. Controllable nuclear fusion technology has been initially mastered, and in Linzi, the first nuclear fusion energy station was built, bringing a revolution in the energy field. Thunder God and Lightning Mother. The problem of massive energy consumption required to transform the celestial phenomena has been solved. Second, it requires extremely strong computing power. Hear this, the old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology had a thought in his mind and said, our country's Zhejiang No. 3 and Zhuchengji No. 2 can be transferred to Leigong and Dianmu. These 2 supercomputers, they are China's masters in the field of computing power in recent years, and they have all entered the ranks of quantum computers. Its running speed is billions of times faster than a classical computer. One of the core components of the Book of Life and Death is a Chinese super quantum computer. However, Yang Mo shook his head and sighed, it's not enough. The computing power of Zhejiang No. 3 and Zhuchengji No. 2 is too weak. Different from Book of Life and Death, Thunder God and Lightning Mother, weather weapon needs to collect all information within the area, including moisture, temperature, humidity, wind speed, sunshine, dust, particles, internal circulation, monsoon alternation, etc. The principle, it is somewhat similar to the butterfly effect. On the other side of the ocean, a butterfly flapping its wings in the rainforest can trigger a tornado on a distant land. Use 4 ounces to move 1,000 Pounds control the celestial phenomena within the territory to make them run according to preset procedures. This is doomed. Thunder God and Lightning Girl needs a larger database to handle the nearly infinite calculations in Find the Butterfly and Zhejiang number 3 and Zhu Chongji number 2. Although it is a quantum computer, it is only the preliminary application of quantum information technology. Rely on them to calculate. It may take hundreds of years to find that butterfly. Then, the old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology frowned. He didn't expect it. The Zhejiang number 3 and Zhu Chongji number 2 computers that China was proud of could not keep up with the computing needs of Lei Gong and Dian Mu. So, we must promote the computing upgrade of quantum computers and master the real quantum computing technology. Yang Mo looked up at the crowd with a somewhat urgent expression. Today, it is raining heavily in various provinces in China. The longer it takes, the disaster will become more terrifying. The advent of Thunder God and Lightning Mother is imminent. The top quantum computer is a key point that cannot be avoided. The core components of many of the country's most important weapons in science fiction heavenly plan require the support of terrifying computing power. As for how to obtain quantum computing technology, in the previous life, Chinese researchers discovered from a certain monster of the Protoss in the 10th round that its abilities were similar to quantum computing, but, in this life. By chance, China obtained the mysterious stone tablet. There is a more convenient way. He can wait until the stone tablet is fully charged and then enter Jixia Academy again to ask the mountain chief for advice on this technique. Chapter 96, Natural Disaster Sweeps Across, People are panicked. It's only 1 month, is it too late? Wang Yu and others couldn't help but ask, suppressing the shock in their hearts. Quantum technology. IT is divided into 3 fields in total, namely quantum computing technology, quantum communication technology, and quantum transmission technology. For now, modern scientific and technological civilization has just entered into the research of quantum computing technology, and the research level in the other 2 fields is only superficial. Within 1 month, the difficulty of upgrading Zhejiang No. 3-inch and Zhuchong number 2 to the top quantum computer level can be imagined. You have to do it even if you can't do it. Yang Mo took a deep breath and said in a low voice, if Thunder God and Lightning Mother comes out as soon as possible, it will save the lives of tens of millions of people. This trial. It's different from the past. The appearance of Fuzhou has brought about abnormal climate, and natural disasters are approaching step by step. Although Huaxia has killed all the husbands. 1 month later, the climate will gradually return to normal, but this month is enough to flood every city in China and bring about many horrific chain disasters. Previous lives. He had experienced this scene personally and witnessed countless compatriots being buried in this natural disaster. You only said 2 things just now, what about 1 more? The old man who led the group was silent for a long time, and then suddenly asked. Yang Mo paused, slowly spoke. The 3rd technology is the high-energy particle remote hedging device, which blasts away the energy residue of the husband. 3 days later, the United States Department of Defense, under the leadership of Steve, the Chosen Legion, went to various states and achieved remarkable results. Within 3 days, the number of Fuzhou killed reached more than 30. Everyone in these places is obviously dead, but the heavy rain has not stopped yet. Looking at the information from the Meteorological Bureau, Jobs felt extremely heavy. It stands to reason. Fuzhou, possessing magical power, can change the sky, create heavy rains, and produce floods. The husbands and princes of more than 30 cities were all beheaded. The rainstorm should stop. It can be based on the forecast of the Meteorological Department. Heavy rains in these cities will continue for at least 20 days. Minister, all states have reported that heavy rains have caused water accumulation on roads, urban flooding, and skyrocketing river water levels. The secretary hurriedly walked into the office and sent the latest summary of the situation in each state. Rainstorm. It has been going on for 3 days. River water levels are generally rising in all 50 states in the United States. Hundreds of cities have experienced disasters such as landslides and mudslides. Hydrological expert estimates. If the rainfall continues, the next step will be for lakes to burst their banks and reservoirs to burst, causing widespread flooding. Requests came in from every state. Apply the Chosen One to intervene and help them eliminate the monsters lurking in the state as soon as possible. Even if it is cleared, it will not stop the heavy rain. Jobs put down the information, shook his head and sighed. This round of trials, it was much scarier than he expected. Killing husbands will not stop the heavy rain disaster, but if it is not erased, it is highly likely that the heavy rain will never stop. Minister, what should we do next? The secretary asked in a low voice. Notify Steve to speed up the progress. Husband must not stay. Jobs took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, in addition, for those who have been obliterated, Fuzhou City activated artificial rain control methods to forcibly disperse the heavy rain. At the same time, globally heavy rain continues, shrouding cities in various countries. After 3 days of research, senior officials from various countries have realized the special nature of heavy rains. Behead all husbands, IT doesn't stop the rainstorm. After learning the truth, senior officials from various countries were extremely horrified. A team of experts was quickly dispatched to study the principles of how Fuzhou changed the weather. After research, the expert team found that after the arrival of Fuzhou, the climate composition within a certain range was invisibly changed, forming a precise and continuously circulating hole. Use this principle. Water vapor from the ocean is continuously mobilized and turns into a downpour. Therefore, as long as this continuous cycle is broken theoretically, the heavy rain can be stopped. So, countries follow the example of the United States. Many artificial cloud intervention plans have been launched one after another. Dry ice is spread into the clouds through aircraft, rockets, and other equipment in an attempt to break the overall cycle. By various means, IT has indeed achieved certain results. Those areas where there was heavy rain cleared up for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes later, countless amounts of water vapor condensed again, and heavy rain came again. No, there are forces left behind in the sky above these cities. Expert teams from various countries discovered in horror that there is an invisible force above the cities to drive again. IT also transports water vapor from the ocean and turns it into torrential rain. No matter how many times they intervene manually. As long as this power does not dissipate, the heavy rain will not stop. For a while, an atmosphere of pessimism and despair has once again enveloped the more than 50 surviving countries. China Monster Research Institute, live broadcast recording. Room Lin Shuiyan looked at the camera and was conducting a national live broadcast. The scene, IT, was also synchronized to various local satellite TV stations. After research and analysis by our institute, the basic habits of the fourth round monster Fuzhou are now understood, and its number is named 004, codenamed Rainmaker. As soon as they arrived in China, they used their racial abilities, released special energy groups, locked a certain area, transformed the atmosphere, and formed a climate of continuous heavy rain. This energy group will last for 1 month after Fuzhou's death. For a long time in the future, extremely heavy rainstorms will continue. Please pay attention to your own safety and beware of major associated disasters. At this time, in the live broadcast room, the number of people online has reached more than 60 million. After hearing the official explanation, a massive barrage of comments flooded in. What? The heavy rain will continue for another month? The door of my house has been flooded, and now I can't get out. What are you talking about? I live in my hometown in the countryside, and the first floor has been flooded. The whole family lives on the second floor now. If it doesn't stop raining, we won't have anywhere to run. Damn monster, it won't let anyone live in peace. My corn will be soaked to death. Although my physical fitness has improved, I can't swim. Is this trial too difficult? The heavy rain lasted only 3 days. The water level began to rise crazily, which not only made travel difficult, but also flooded countless crops. Everyone, both are feeling heavy. I no longer have the optimism I had when facing monsters. Listening to the heavy rain outside and watching the rising water level every day brings unimaginable stress. Death, IT, is oppressing everyone's nerves. Although they have received a 100% physical bonus and a 100-year lifespan increase, this does not mean that they will not die in the face of natural disasters. Human beings looks too small. PS. It has been confirmed that it will be put on the shelves at the end of the month. The specific day will be confirmed by the editor's notice, and it will be launched on the day of release.